Welcome to this episode of the Expedition to Soul podcast. By the time this airs, then you will all know listening that we are now hosting Tuesday live stream videos that are coming onto the podcast. And we have these interviews sprinkled in, and I'm excited today to bring Shannon Dias of Imaginif and one of our community members here at the Sisters Enchanted to chat with you. Hello, Shannon.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. So I've known you online for a few years now and met you in person.
Yep.
Actually, now that I'm like, we dial back to pre-COVID.
Right? Yeah.
It's been a while. And it's been really fun getting to know you and then hearing about what the transitions in your life after I did get to know you, and then like getting to know you again, because there's like a rebirth of Shannon here.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So yeah. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn it to you. Tell the people, who are you?
All right. Well, thanks again for having me. So I am a creative services consultant. I'm an artist and I'm also a certified coach. And so I've kind of melded, I guess, a lifetime of helping people see their vision and bring that into life and tell the story about it, into helping them do that both as a business and on a personal level, and working through our kind of struggles and getting to know yourself and how to tap into your own magic and personal power and how to bring that into your daily life to, just do life a little bit better.
We know that you were born magical. We know that you are intuitive, and we know that you are brimming with everyday enchantment. Here at the Sisters Enchanted, we believe in intention, we believe in intuition, and we believe in everyday magic. Welcome in to the Expedition to Soul podcast.
Yeah.
I love that idea of doing life a little bit better. I feel like we could all use that.
Yeah. Adding more fun. I like to say that I put myself into situations where I have the opportunity for joy. So it's not necessarily, I'm going to go be happy. Excuse me, in this moment, I'm going to go find an opportunity to be happy, because you never know what you're going to do. And so you kind of take that pressure off yourself. You brought up a little bit about how, I've transitioned a few different times, and I think we all do that. But yeah, it's, I've done it on a personal level many times. And I'll kind of do this in two-part, a little bit of me, a little bit of how I found the Sisters Enchanted. I feel like I've always, I believe we're all intuitive. I believe that everybody has that inside of them, but we don't necessarily always see it. Society kind of makes that a little bit difficult sometimes. And so for me, I walked away from a big part of that for a long time, where I was, the intuitiveness was still there, but wasn't really connecting with anything, really, even on a spiritual level. Like I was spiritual, but religion I wasn't connecting with it. It wasn't doing it for me. And so I was kind of looking for something else. And I've always been, picking up rocks and connecting and doing magical things, but I didn't really put it two and two together. And I don't even know how I saw it, but I saw something Sisters Enchanted online, and it had to do with finding the magic inside you again. And I was immediately like, yep, this is it. This is perfect. And so I believe I actually just jumped right into holistic witchery program, which if anybody knows me, I leap first, ask questions later, ask for forgiveness, not permission, all that stuff. So for me, that wasn't a big deal to do that. I can see where somebody else might be a little bit hesitant if they're not ready to jump. I say jump because it's well worth it. But yeah, I saw that and I just kind of jumped in. And all of this was happening at a time when I was going through and still going through, I'm walking with grief is how I like to call it. My son died in 2018. And, of course, that's a devastating situation. I lost myself completely. And I like to describe it as I was like underwater. And everything that I did from the moment that it happened was to survive. So I kept putting myself in opportunities for joy. And that's kind of where that came from, because there was no joy. There was maybe laughter here and there as we we're gather in family and celebrate him and do things that he loved. But I gravitated and held on to the things he believed in. And I used that to go forward. And then I threw myself into art as a healing tool for me. And that's what eventually manifested. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I like to do this. I forgot that I did this. And why did I stop? And that manifested into me continuing my education a little bit more and taking more courses on, coaching and things like that. And specifically to art therapy techniques. And because for me, it was what helped me survive. And so the combination of me doing art for myself and getting into that and taking holistic witchery, which helped me get really deep into me. And people throw around the term shadow work all the time, and I feel like that's a very overused term out there in the world that a lot of people really don't understand what it means. And it's interesting because I was taking a holistic witchery at the same time that I was taking two other things, because I was diving into everything just to find some sliver of peace and to something to go forward. And I was doing it at the same time. And the techniques that were in holistic witchery that go with shadow work were so much more aligned to mental health and psychology related. Even though, it's woo, as everyone likes to, throw around, which it is, of course, there's all that in there. But it was so grounded. And for me, that was like, I was very surprised by it. And it's what got me into really respecting true shadow work and what that can do, because you are the light and the dark, and you cannot go through life without seeing that darkness, living with it and walking with it for a little while. And so that kind of changed everything for me. I still, wanted to help people with their look and their vision. Like when I say creative services, I'm talking about like I do websites and design work and, those types of things, and help people, brand and see their vision. But that wasn't enough, because it almost seemed like it was surfacey, like so much of the rest of the world is surfacey, and the internet surfacey, that kind of thing. And I wanted to go deeper. I wanted like to dig out their passion and help them bring that in, but also not so much of I'm looking so far ahead and I want to build this vision into life and everything else, which yes, that's great. But it was, how do I get through today? Like bringing people more into today, this moment, because for me, that was the ultimate of it all. You only have this moment that you're in. Past and future are great and they provide value, but you only have this moment. So like for me, there's a crazy old world going around that I'm living in right now, but this moment is I'm spending time with Sarah and, we're just having a chat. And so I'm 100% into this. And I think that is such a big deal that people miss, and they miss out on a lot because they don't put, that 100%. And so that became it for me. I wanted to help people find that joy, get back to that little kid who was coloring in kindergarten, use those tools to help people at the end of the day, do something good for their mental health, and also add value to their everyday life that they can, kind of take with them. So maybe that's a long answer. I kind of went into a few different things there, but
no, it's good. Yeah. So how would you say that, so creativity and like you said, remembering that you liked art, and then anybody watching this on the video, you can see some of Shannon's art behind her lovely head there. Her head's floating in her art. But you can see some of it. What do you, to people who might not feel creative, or like they aren't artists, or they don't art, if we're going to make art a verb, I don't art. No. What would like people who feel that way, like, oh, that's all well and good that you found that again, but like, I didn't like to do art to begin with, because I think that when you talk about shadow work and like the deepness and richness of really looking at yourself, that something like creative expression is what really helps you close the loop on all of that, that hard work of looking at yourself. But people who feel like, oh, well, I don't do that, so it's not going to work for me. What would you say to people thinking that?
Well, and I'm holding back from saying everyone is creative, because that's also another thing that's thrown around all the time. And not everyone enjoys the technique of creating a masterpiece of art. And I think that's the difference. Is you're exactly right. The shadow work and tapping into moving the energy, like so much, we don't talk in society in general about energy moving around a lot, and that's happening whether we're talking about it or not. And every act of actually moving through something is moving that energy around, and it's sometimes just allowing it to dispel and let you process that energy. And sometimes you need to move it around a lot before it's something tangible. Sometimes it's just a matter of escaping into the art. And that's the difference, is that for this purpose you're releasing everything, so there are no rules. Almost every class that I teach is not a class where I'm teaching. I'm guiding people through their own experience of just releasing. And so I may step by step walk you through some, we're going to do this now, we're going to do that now, but it's about the process. It's not about the technique. So you're not going to walk out of here and know everything there is to know about watercolor. You're going to maybe, go pick up some cheap watercolor palette at the store that you would buy for your kids, and not worry about the quality of it, because it's about the process of you flowing with that color. We examine like what colors did you put on the paper, and what does that mean for you? And maybe you might want to think about this. And so much of it is an intuitive process. So you may not even realize, hey, why you're doing something. Hey, I just created this thing, and I now that I think about it, I was doing this thing the other day, and it made me feel really uncomfortable, and I can see where this is coming out in this shape. And so there's a lot of that. And I would argue that it is more important for the people who don't like art to actually do it, because for the most part, in my experience, the ones that are not liking it, and we talked a little bit about this in another fashion before we get on the recording, it's a control issue. For the most part, we don't want to release that control. And I think for me, that was actually the most freeing part about it, because that could be why I walked away from art, because I was putting so much pressure on myself to create these masterpieces every time, and I wasn't doing it, that I didn't flow through it. And that's what it's about. It's about flowing through it and doing the things that just feel fun, while you're doing it. Sometimes you're just squishing up a piece of clay, just mashing it up, and getting out all of that energy into a piece of clay. It's just the act of using these, kindergarten tools, for lack of a better term, into releasing what it is, and maybe processing it and bringing some things to light that you weren't even aware that are there, that may be holding you back, or maybe could push you forward a little bit, or just add value.
Yeah, very true. And that's why I think it's important for people like you to get out there and help people process through creativity. Because I know, as a person who likes to have control myself, I know how hard it is for me to, I wouldn't say hard, but like, it wouldn't be the first thing I did to sign up for something that was like, let's go make art. And it's not like, and I would say I am pretty creative. Like, I will work on knitting, or I'll work, like I do things like that, but there is that control element of like, what am I, like the unknown, what am I going to actually do here? And what's this person going to make me do? And how uncomfortable am I going to get? But I think that's really important, because when you don't, you just store all of that in you, and it's like, it's uncomfortable to let something out, to say something hard, or like anybody who's had a child, I mean, it's uncomfortable birthing a child, to say the least. And like, you're birthing a piece of you out, and that's not comfortable. But I think relinquishing control to, just like when you're giving birth, you gotta just let go. It'll happen. However it happens, it'll happen. And I think it's similar, like to that point of control.
Yeah.
The more you try to control your feelings, control your thoughts, control the outcomes, it just stores up in you and leads to nothing good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that, ego side of yourself, that's controlling. And it's, for me, the art is the most spiritual thing that I do, because I just go to another place. I'm in a zone, outside of the intentionally spiritual things that I do. It's the most organically spiritual thing I do, I guess I'll say. And that's because I just release and I go to another place and things just happen. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I had no idea I was going somewhere with that. And, and I just did a TikTok video the other day where I was like, hey, I didn't think I had a theme, but apparently I have a theme, because I just looked at like 4 or 5 pieces of art and they all have a similar thing going on, even though they're different, they have a similar thing. And I think that that's the whole thing with it, is you realize things about yourself that, that weren't there. And as far as the creative aspect of things, everything at the Sisters Enchanted was created from somewhere, right? And all of that had to be put together and woven and brought to light. And I would argue that entire thing is a creative process, and that all of that was something that was birthed. And, so it's, yeah.
I would definitely draw a parallel between birthing the Sisters Enchanted and birthing a child.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think creativity does show up for people in different ways, for sure. Like what your thing is going to be for you. You said something that I was going to, you talked about your art as like your deep spiritual process connection. What sorts of things do you use? Because I think are like tools or just what does being spiritual or like the witchy woo magic things, what does that look like for you? Because I think that's some folks who listen to this might be hearing about these things for the first time. And I think it's a preconception that people have, or preconceived idea that you have to have like tarot cards and crystals and look at the moon, that you must do these things every single day. So like, what does this look like for you? Yeah. Orderly, all the things, check them off the list.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and for me, I think everybody has their own version of it. That's the first thing, is that it's a spiritual connection. So, and for me, being a witch means being aware of the energy that's in and around everything, being aware that we're all connected. And it's a very organic process. So, connection to nature and things like that. And for the actual spiritual part of it, where I'm connected. So I'll give you a little bit of a background real quick, because I know that it can turn people off and people can be afraid, and witch has all of these scary connotations. And, at the time that we're recording this, all of the Halloween stuff is in the stores, and there's all of these, witch shows on TV, and the percentage of ones where the witch is shown in not a great light is probably much higher than the other way around. But what drew me into it is the community of people that are here because of what I would argue is an incredibly powerful value system, where we honor each other, we respect each other, and we all have different beliefs. I know from just conversations we've had in the live sessions and things like that, where it's every different religion is in here. There are people who are Wiccan, but there are also people who are Christian, who are a member of this community, and everything in between, because it's not about the religion aspect of it. And I think that's where people get lost. Religion and spirituality, I believe, are 2 very different things. And so connecting spiritually is different for every single person. for me, it's whatever opens me up to my connection with spirit, with the divine. And I often say jokingly that I'm a recovering Catholic, because that's how I was raised. And this is no disrespect for Catholic people that I love, believe very strongly in this religion. And there are parts of it that are still with me, but the religion aspect of it wasn't right for me. But what I believe is that there's so much out there that it's impossible for me as a human to really know what is, what the real story is, so to speak. Yeah. And so for me, my beliefs are they're grounded in what I've experienced, and I have experienced divine connection. And I experience it on, small levels, and what I deem to be, the larger, very aware that this is, happening level. And for me, it's about connecting to that. And it's a process. When I stepped into it and I first got into holistic witchery, I knew I had a spiritual connection, but it was nowhere near the level that it is right now. And that all comes with awareness and just, being in the process and going through and living your life that way authentically. Probably 3 years ago, I would not have come on a podcast and said, yep, was a former Catholic and now I'm a witch. I probably wouldn't have done that before. Even with a person like myself who just jumps in and asks for forgiveness later.
I love that. That's one of my phrases I love to say, is ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission. And it drives Anna crazy.
I can see that.
She's like, that's not right.
Yeah. Well, because it's honoring where you are. And I think that's the thing for me, is there's so many rules in life. And that's a big part of what I wanted to bring into the world. Was I didn't want to replace anything else that was out there. I love collaboration. It's a big part of what I'm trying to bring, to light, is to have many different holistic professionals collaborating on all of these different things, to bring more of this awareness into the world, because I feel like the world is a very heavy place, and the Sisters Enchanted very much is my safe space. And that was very important for me going forward, is whatever I birth into the world. I've had a business for years, and I'm off doing something, and it's not easy. Being a small business owner is not an easy thing to do. But going forward, it was more about the alignment with me, and spirit, and what the importance of every activity that I'm doing. Is it adding value to someone's life? Is it doing a good thing? That was very important for me. Am I providing a safe space? I've witnessed and been involved with the society being very cruel to people. And my daughter is gay, and I witnessed horrific behaviors when she was a child, that people would do. And so for me, providing that safe space and just having acceptance, everybody is who they are. And if we can just kindness first, and then dig into things, and then that lays that foundation for when eventually I have to ask the tougher questions, or say, because that's definitely a part of what I'm doing, is I'm bringing more truth, which is not always something that people are ready for. So being in that safe space is ultimately extremely important, so that you can understand everything that we're doing is coming from a place of love and respect. And I think that's spiritually. And for me, as far as tools, I connect all the time, but I actually have one on. So pendulum is my most favorite tool, because it's the first moment for me when I was like the little kid who got their Harry Potter letter. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. And this was years ago. And every time I do it, I'm still like, this is the coolest thing ever.
I saw your photo of that. Is that the one you shared a photo of recently? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So pretty. And it was just like, no, you have to take me home. But yeah, just getting that. I don't know if it's the that Virgo part of me or whatever that needed that. Yes, this is a thing. I needed something grounded in it. I don't know. That earth element, where it was just like, this is a thing that's happening. You cannot deny it. Get out there and be who you are. Stop it. And it was almost that profound. Like I walked into a store because I needed more crystals, because everybody needs more crystals, right? So, of course I'm shopping
Naturally.
in there. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, I was like, I literally didn't even know what they did. I'm like, what are these? And I walked over to them and I'm like, these are so pretty. Why am I keep looking at these? And I have no idea what they are. I'm like, what purpose do they serve? It's on a string. I can't even put it around my neck. It's not a necklace. What am I doing with this? Right. So it was just, I wasn't aware, because it wasn't part of my world. And I asked the shop owner and they told me, and I was like, really? And I just sat there in the store and I asked it 3 questions and I was like, yes, I'm buying this. It's coming home with me,
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. And I use mine with tarot, which actually I pulled a card. So I'll show you right now because that's a good. So this is Portuguese man o' war. And the idea behind this one is ebb and flow. And what cool little fun fact is that the man o' war is actually made up of a bunch of different, I don't even know if they're like different particles, they're different like living organisms, a bunch of different living organisms that make up one Portuguese man o' war. So to me, it's like this idea of community. And the ebb and flow is, so much of my life has been about making things happen. This is the direction I'm going. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to do all of this work. I'm going to do this thing, and this is going to happen. And that is true to a point. You can do all this planning, but you have to flow with it. The energy is going, and you're being often guided in different directions. And so it's so much of my spiritual journey is really about paying attention to that guidance as it's coming in, listening to my own intuition, because I believe that's where it all stems from. We all have it inside us. Everything else is just a tool and an assistance. And so it's really getting to know yourself and where you stand as a spiritual being and how you connect and utilizing the tools around you to do that better. And I think it's a constant state of growing. Like for me, the Sisters Enchanted is my home space. And so I like to come in and out, and even with all the time that I have, that I don't have, I should say, I actually feel like the negative impact of not being in the group when I should be, like it, because it adds that value to my life.
Think about what life would look like if you had the foundation to do the shadow work, understand where you're holding yourself back, and the confidence to bring some everyday magic elements into your life, follow your intuition, and know exactly the steps forward for you. Well, that's what we teach you and more in our Holistic Witchery program. Be sure to get on the wait list for Holistic Witchery. It's the one class we think everybody should take here at the Sisters Enchanted. It has changed so many lives and is at the core of all of our fundamental beliefs about who we are and how we propel ourselves forward in a way that makes great change for ourselves and those around us. Check out holisticwitchery.com, get on the wait list, and we can't wait to welcome you into class just as soon as enrollment opens.
And
it's a great group of people.
It is. It's incredible.
I stand by that. It's the community. It's all the people and people's willingness to be vulnerable and share, and the different types of people also, because we have all kinds of people who I think in regular day-to-day life would never have found themselves together, even over this common interest, just because people live in different places or like economic demographics. And, you probably wouldn't have ever been in a shop with this person for a workshop or something. And I think it's a great reminder of that there are all kinds of people walking around with all kinds of things that you have know nothing about and couldn't begin to imagine. And the authentic shares, the vulnerable shares, and the cheering each other on, I think from just a wide type of person is always very inspiring to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with everything you said. And I think that comes from a place where immediately I can still remember the first time I got into the group, and immediately I felt home. I just felt like this was a safe space for me to learn a bunch of things from a bunch of cool people, and just hang out and really want to be in that space. And how many how many years later I'm still here, and don't plan on going anywhere, because I think that's what it is. We all need that community space, but above all of that, it's not just having a community. It's everything comes from a place of acceptance and love and respect, and everybody honors that, and adds, if you look at the posts and everything else in there, that's what people are doing. They're sharing, I have this question, and other people are answering, and it's just this beautiful space of everybody lifting each other up. And that's what I used as my foundation for, if I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to do something different than what I've done for the last 25, 30 years, then I want to model that off of something that I feel really good about. And so for me, you were the model for me putting myself out there and what I wanted to do and what that needed to be. So I thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you for spreading the love, because it's always this vision I have where I open up my virtual witch school doors, and then everybody walks out, and then, spreads it just thrusts the doors open, and everybody just comes pouring out and goes and changes the world in their own way. And it makes me really happy to think that visual in my mind.
It's beautiful. I will add one thing, because I do know that, and we talked about this a little bit before we got on, that it can be very difficult for somebody to step into this world, especially if they don't know anything about it. And my 2 cents on that is, you don't know until you try. And if you're being called to this for some reason, if you keep going back to it for whatever reason, you see something, it's piquing your interest, that to me is spirit calling you and bringing you to that space. It's giving you the opportunity to see it. And this goes back to that opportunity for joy. You are being given the opportunity for this, but you have to take the action to do it. And that's where everything differs for us. As humans, we're spiritual beings, but we're human. We're in this human form. And that's that constant struggle as we go through and be human. It's very difficult to be human. And so if you're paying attention and you see something over and over again, there's a reason. I would argue there's a reason that you're seeing that, and maybe take a chance, because you're taking a chance on yourself and nothing else. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing that you can do.
Yeah. Always bet on yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you a little this or that. I'm going to give you, I only have a few here.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to decide, how long you get to live on the ship based on your own. Just kidding. I think throw someone overboard for their answers, but they're all answers that I'd have trouble answering myself. So
okay, here we go.
All right, the first one, your food preference: tacos or pizza?
Tacos.
It's a weird question, but I love both those things.
I love both of those, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with tacos. Yeah, because I'm making an intentional choice to eat the tacos, which are better for me than the pizza.
Yeah, that is likely true.
I'm fueling my body.
Yeah. With tacos. I love tacos. Yeah. Are you a day person or a morning person or a night person?
Night person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm not at all. I go to bed at 9:15.
No, I'm getting my second wind about 9:15.
Oh my gosh.
It's tough working in the morning. Yeah.
Do you prefer oracle cards or tarot cards?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can pick because I use them for two different things. So I guess I'll explain and then I'll force myself to pick. So for oracle cards, I utilize those when I want to really, really focus in on a message and spend a little time with it. And, or I just need a quick, tell me what I need to do. And tarot, I do that a little bit with that as well, but I get more. Oh, see, that's tough. I'm gonna go with tarot because I think I'm gonna go with tarot because Oracle can make life too easy. Oracle takes yourself out of the equation completely, and tarot, you get to tell the story with it, which I love. But it's funny, I'm realizing this as you're asking me that question, so thank you for that. But the Oracle is easier for me to just go and grab, what I need. I mean, I can do both, but it's almost like I'm just looking for the quick answer with the Oracle card, and with the tarot, I want to spend more time with it.
Yeah.
To get the answer. So I'm going to go with tarot because I think it's more valuable to have it come from yourself, even if you're connecting with spirit, which I do, to choose often.
Yeah, I like that. I hope that's the hardest question you have to answer today.
Yeah, it probably will be.
Your whole day. I got three more.
Okay.
Are you a person who likes to read books, or are you a person who likes to listen on audio?
For time, I listen on audio, and also if it's a good read, but I do like to hold the book in my hand. So, so it just depends on I think if I had all the time in the world, I would probably still listen on audio because I would want to be doing other things while I was listening.
Yeah.
like painting.
Yeah. I get that. I like to read a book, but the ability to do something while listening into the thing I want to read is very handy.
Yeah.
Very handy.
Exactly.
All right. Your last two. Are you a person who likes to live by the water or live inland with plains and mountains and that kind of thing, or whatever?
Water. Yeah,
water.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And if I
answer.
had my choice, I could be by the water and go 100 feet and there would be woods.
That means you need to move back to New England.
I know. That's not happening. Yeah. I keep saying that eventually I'll get a little, cabin or something in New England just for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
And then get out.
Because as you know, we have that here. You're in the water and then you're in the woods.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's actually what I miss the most about New England. Yeah, but that and obviously the people that are still there, but
yeah, I know. Every time I think of moving, I'm always like, but we have everything within a 3-hour drive,
Yeah.
Something to say for that.
Yeah, all right. I was I moved in January from New England to Florida. And so I walked away from the snow and I was outside all day in the sunshine. And I said, yeah, good choice. And no regret.
Yeah, no, Florida is, we like to spend winter months in Florida for that very reason.
Yeah.
All right. The last one. Do you prefer tea or coffee?
Tea. Yep. That was an easy one. I'm a former coffee drinker, but I do love my cappuccino now and then.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Tea is just so fun. I don't know why, but it just makes me other than the fact that it has, the whole witchy connotations and everything that go with it too, that make it fun. And you can read your tea leaves and, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. My mom is 100% English. And so I grew up where we would actually, do tea in the afternoon, and she would make these little cucumber sandwiches and all this kind of stuff. I associate tea with an experience, a whole thing, so for me, it's just more fun.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Taking time with us. Yeah. So you can find Shannon on social media at Imaginif, to my knowledge, on Instagram. Right. And then if you're in our app community, you can find her. She's Imaginif in the app also. So you can find her there if you want to say hello. And of course, we'll link up all the places to find Shannon in and around wherever you find links, however you're watching or listening to this, you'll find them there.
And Imaginif is no E on Imagine. So it's IMAGINIS, just to be fun.
True. I did know that. As I was saying that, I was like, there's something about it that I know it's not but I'm not like, I'm
Yeah.
losing the plot on what it is in my mind right
Yeah.
now.
No, that's
So
okay.
thank you for
I
pointing that out.
appreciate. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
And we'll
appreciate the
link it
share.
all up. All right, then. Well, again, you will find Shannon in all the places, and we will put her link and where to find her everywhere. And that is it for today. So until next time, we hope that you have an enchanted rest of your day ahead.